Charlie smiled and said, "Dad, it's only a few $100,000. It's not a big deal. Besides, don't I have friends? It's easy to get cosmetics." Jacob couldn't help but sighed. "Oh, what a pity, what a pity." Charlie smiled without saying a word. In the eyes of the old man, it would be a pity for Elaine to use a pack of baby noodles for one. However, to himself, what's the problem with this little money? Don't say you spend money, just call Isaac, Solomon White, and Chin Gang and ask them to help buy 10 or 20 sets. What's the point? The point is that with a little bit of petty profit, he can make the mother-in-law submissive. This business is simply not too costly. Jacob on the side vaguely asked, "Hey, by the way, Charlie, Dad, can you, please?" Charlie nodded. "Dad, tell me, what are you doing so politely with me?" Jacob smiled, rubbed his hands, and said, "If you have a way to get this kind of cosmetics, can you get me one more set?" Charlie asked subconsciously, "Dad, are you still going to take care of it?" But it doesn't seem to be necessary. It's more flavorful when a man is older. Jacob smiled embarrassedly. "Dad doesn't hide from you. I want to ask you for a set, not for my own use. I want to find a chance to give you Aunt. You know, Dad has no money now. You Auntie has been back for so long, and Dad hasn't given her a gift yet." How embarrassed. Then he said, "I wondered, since you have a way to get this kind of cosmetics, then help Dad get one more set. Dad will take it to give you Aunt. Is it a little bit of face?" As a man, Charlie understands Jacob's thoughts very well. In fact, which man does not want to make his beloved woman happy? It's just that some people really can't reach it, and they can't do anything. Just like Charlie before, not only he was penniless, but also had no longs. Sometimes when Claire celebrated his birthday, or when the two of them celebrate their wedding anniversary, Charlie also hoped to give his wife a gift. But because there was no money, he could only think about it. The first valuable gift he gave to his wife was the jade necklace he bought for her at Rare Earth after Stephen found him. Before that, even if Charlie wanted to give his wife the whole world, with his ability at the time, he couldn't even give away a set of cosmetics from the past. Regardless of how old Jacob is, but at this moment, he is still in love with Mei Ching, who has been away for more than 20 years, so he naturally hopes to give her some decent gifts. Charlie understood this very well. So he said very generously, "Okay, Dad, then I'll make an extra set and bring it to you then." "Great." Jacob was so excited that he couldn't add anything, and said excitedly, "Good son-in-law, you really did a great favor to Dad." As he said, he was too busy to ask him, "By the way, you must not let your mother-in-law that shrew know about this matter. Otherwise, Dad will be over, do you know?" Charlie nodded. "Don't worry, Dad, I know in my heart that I will leave a set in the trunk of your car when you come, and you can take it with you when you meet Aunt next time." "Okay, great," my good son-in-law thought it all. Charlie drove the happy old master to the gate of the university for the elderly. After Jacob got out of the car, Charlie drove straight to the airport to see Sarah off. Sarah's private jet is parked in the business hangar of the airport. There are no other passengers, no reporters or paparazzi here, so it can give her the greatest freedom and privacy. Charlie was here too, and saw Sarah, who was dressed in a capable little suit. At this time, Sarah seemed to be a standard strong woman. Seeing Charlie coming, she couldn't help showing the shame and happiness of the little woman. Since meeting Charlie, her mind has not been able to get rid of Charlie's figure. Although the memories that she can think of in her mind and that she shared with Charlie stayed at a young age, because she has repeatedly deepened the impression in her mind for so many years, the memory of more than 10 years ago, on the contrary, lingered in her mind. The power of psychological suggestion is very powerful, and the scumbag who likes Pua girls like Wu Qi uses the powerful influence of psychological suggestion. Long-term psychological hints can make a person lose himself. Ordinary girls, in front of the master of psychological suggestions, are afraid that they will fall within a few months. As for Sarah, she has been making psychological hints to herself for more than 10 years, and this influence has become even more profound. It can be said that it has reached a point where it is deeply rooted and thoroughly established. Therefore, after she met Charlie again, she immediately began to take on the role of his fiancé. When she slept last night, she even began to imagine that the two would return to Eastcliff for a wedding in the future. Seeing Charlie at this time, the girl's heart in her bone cage suddenly burst, and she ran all the way to Charlie, grabbed his arm, and said quietly, "Charlie, I am going back to Eastcliff today. Are you willing to leave me?" Charlie smiled and said, "You have to go home, and you have to go back to participate in the rehearsal of the gala. People across the country are waiting to see your performance." Sarah mumbled dissatisfiedly, "Answer the question." "What people want to ask is, you are not willing to go back." Charlie wanted to say that he was willing, but felt that after speaking out, Sarah would definitely be anxious. However, he couldn't say that he was reluctant, because he actually wanted Sarah to go back quickly. Otherwise she would only bring trouble and trouble to him if she continued to stay in Orus Hill. If Claire knew what happened to him and her, he wouldn't know how angry she would be. So, he said vaguely, "Oh, anyway, you go back to your work, and I will visit your house in a few days, soon." "Okay, then." Sarah pouted, nodded lightly, and said, "I will not tell my father when I go back. I will give him a surprise when you get there." Charlie said, "Okay, then don't tell Uncle Gu now." The crew was already checking before takeoff. August also took Sarah's personal luggage and boarded the private jet first.